Everyone, and welcome to the Women in Innovation briefing event. I'm Siobhan Smith, Knowledge Transfer Manager for Diversity and Inclusion at KTN, and I'll be guiding us throughout the event, in which Rachel Obrike and Abby Wood will be explaining the scope, eligibility and application process for the Women in Innovation competition. We'll be sharing some advice and top tips for applicants, and we'll be joined by some of our previous Women in Innovation Award winners, as well as Indra Mukherjee, Innovate UK's CEO, Dr. Hayatan Salem, CEO of the Royal Academy of Engineering, and Dr. Alicia Greeted, KTN's CEO. There are plenty of opportunities throughout the event to ask your questions to our guests or for you to seek further clarification about the awards. Please do pop these in the chat box and use this opportunity to network with fellow delegates. Before we jump into the competition details, it's my pleasure to introduce Indra Mukherjee, Innovate UK's CEO. For those who don't know Indra, is not only committed to ensuring the continued positive development of the innovation system, but is extremely passionate about engaging, inspiring, and supporting individuals to grow and develop. So it's no surprise that the Women in Innovation Programme and Awards, which embodies all of these aspects, is of particular interest to him. And he has made himself available to be present throughout the whole event today. I'll now hand over to Indra to say a few words of welcome to everyone who has joined us. Over to you, Indra.
Thank you, Siobhan, and good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to be with us at this very important event. I'm Indra Mukherjee, and I joined Innovate UK just over 3 months ago as CEO. In the last 3 months, I've been really privileged to be able to meet the brilliant people that we have in our team and to learn quickly about the work that we've been doing together. So I really jumped at the chance to be involved in today's event, which is something very important to me and all my team. Innovate UK is the UK's innovation agency. We work with people, businesses and partners to find and drive the science and technology innovations that grow our economy. When describing our activities, I like to use 3 important words to say what we do. I want to lead Innovate UK to inspire, involve and invest in UK innovation. Inspire innovative businesses to create value by turning new ideas into reality. We have a huge amount of talent in the UK and we work hard to help that talent become successful and contribute to our economy. We want to involve people and organisations to create a vibrant and successful innovation ecosystem in the UK. Innovate UK funds, supports and works with many partners to do this. And the work that we do with our knowledge transfer network is a great example of this. We want to invest in innovation to make a real impact. We do this through a number of financial and non-financial ways. We want to turn this investment into real impact for the UK. Innovate UK supports many UK businesses to innovate, to succeed, and to make a great contribution to our economy. Now, in addition to making an impact on our economy, I want our work to impact our society. I have a very strong personal belief and drive to see true equality of opportunity, way better diversity, and a real inclusion so that it happens naturally as part of our daily lives. So that's why I'm here today. I feel very passionately about this programme. It's a great programme and I'm proud of the work that our team is doing to make it happen. This is the 4th competition for Women in Innovation Awards, and across all 4 competitions, we've supported over 100 award winners. You know, when I look through the previous Women in Innovation Award winners, I could see such a brilliant diversity of innovations and businesses. Everything from radically new kinds of solar thermal panels to waste poultry feathers to provide biodegradable insulation material to replace polystyrene, all the way through to smart air bricks and biodegradable waterproof coatings. Such a wide range of innovation, and the Women in Innovation Award winners and all the participants who've contributed ideas, products, services, and many kinds of innovations to help our lives, our planet and our economy, as well as our society. And I'd like to thank all of them for their work and for their participation. These awards form a springboard for future success. For example, helping to secure new investment, launching new products, gaining regulatory approval and entering global markets. And so they're a very important feature of our calendar in the year. You will hear more from some of the award winners later in the panel, And we've got a great network of partners that we've worked with to make this event happen and to also work with our Women in Innovation program throughout the whole year. Our knowledge transfer network supporting the community, running events, helping you to make connections, providing opportunities for peer networking so that you can support and learn from each other. Our Innovate UK Edge team, providing women-led businesses with tailored advice, innovation and growth support to access global markets. We've worked also with a number of big investor groups and formed strong partnerships, such as the UK Business Angels Association, to try and create access for investors, for female founders, and also encouraging more women to invest. We need to tackle both sides of the equation. We've worked extensively with regional partners and many other organisations who've given their time for this important programme. And I'd like to thank all of the network of partners who've worked with Innovate UK to make this programme happen. We're excited about our programme and very positive and determined. You know, in many ways, it would be better if we didn't need a programme like this. And one day, maybe we won't. But for now, we really do. And we are very focused on making this area work in our economy and our society. And I'm really proud to have the team that has made this programme successful. I'd like to quote from Alison Rose, who made a very impressive review of female entrepreneurship. And she says, our economic recovery desperately needs the untapped potential that women-led businesses represent. That's the equivalent of more than 1 million missing SME businesses and over £250 billion of additional value for the UK economy. So as a country and as an innovation economy, we really need to get the untapped potential from women in innovation very quickly and very successfully. And that's why I'm very excited about this programme. So I'm here for the whole event today and now hand over to Rachel, and we'll see you later as part of the panel session. So I hand over to Rachel and for the rest of the programme. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indro, for that opening. And welcome to everyone that has tuned in into today's event. We're really excited, as Indro said, to have all of you on the call today. And for the session of this presentation, I'd just like to walk you through the scope and everything that you need to put in your application into this year's Women in Innovation competition. Warm welcome from the team to us. And so I'd just like to go on to talk about diversity and inclusion, which is the heart of Innovate UK's agenda. At Innovate UK, we are committed to encouraging diversity and inclusion in business innovation. And we do this in two main ways: embedding equality, diversity, and inclusion in everything that we do. And secondly, by using our targeted activities to address underrepresentation in business innovation. Example of this is our targeted program. So we have our Young Innovators program and then the Women in Innovation program. We want to find the best talent, as Indro said, we want to find the best talent and the most talented innovators from a diverse range of backgrounds and provide them with the resources, advice, and self-belief to succeed. Our approach is a simple one. We want to shine a spotlight where there is currently underrepresentation in business innovation. And so the way we do this, we support and empower people to innovate, grow businesses, and in turn, the UK economy. So why diversity and inclusion? I just thought it's really important to just share some of the research, and Indro has mentioned some already. So the first one is work that has been done by McKinsey and Company. Companies whose executive teams are in the top quartile for gender diversity are more likely to financially outperform their peers by 25%. And when you think about ethnic diversity, this rises to 36%. And another research I'd like to share with you is from We Are Purple organization. 2 billion a month is lost by UK businesses by ignoring the needs of disabled people. So this is just some of the research I wanted to highlight today. And without taking much time, I like to go through the journey of the Women in Innovation competition. And Indro has rightly talked through that this is the fourth competition that we're having, and we're so excited that you have tuned in today. So Innovate UK launched the Women in Innovation competition in 2016 after research revealed that 1 in 7 applications for Innovate UK support came from women. And we found that access to funding and finance was one of the biggest challenges, and it is still one of the biggest challenges. And the other important issue highlighted from that research was that there weren't visible role models. And this is so important at the heart of the Women in Innovation program, to have relatable role models. And that's why we have started a campaign, and I'll talk about that just at the end of this presentation, the Purple Plaque campaign. It's so important to have relatable role models. The importance of access to right network and the value of mentors. This is just some of the points that were brought out from that research. Therefore, the overall aim of the Women in Innovation competition was just to get women with excellent ideas innovating in UK's business. And we know that on the call today, that excellent ideas, the women with fantastic ideas, and that's what the aim of the program is all about. So Women in Innovation is part of Innovate UK's commitment to promoting greater diversity and inclusion in business innovation. So the aim of the competition is to find women with exciting, innovative ideas and ambitious plans that will inspire others. And I know that on today's call, there are fantastic women with exciting and innovative ideas. So shortly after we launched the campaign in 2016, we supported 15 women. And in 2018, we supported 9 women. And last year, in spite of all the challenges that happened last year, we were able to support 40 fantastic awards during last year's competition. And so there's huge opportunity for us in this year's competition to further support women. And we want to build on that success, as Indro mentioned at the beginning. We want to support women who are at a critical stage of their business, where this award will enable them to take the important step to the next level. And that's what we want to do. The funding should help them to make a real difference to innovation in the UK, including and beyond that sector and innovative ideas. So this is a nutshell of what the Women in Innovation competition is about. And I'd like to go now into the scope of the competition to talk you through the aims and the scope of the competition. We're looking for women who clearly explain how they'll benefit from the full package of the funding. And we're also looking for women who will be relatable role models for other women from all backgrounds. Everyone is welcome, and from all regions across the UK. Welcome to the women who have dialed in from Northern Ireland, and welcome to the women on the call today from Wales and from London and from Berkshire and from Wiltshire. You're all welcome. So this competition is looking for women from all regions across the UK, and women who are solving a range of pressing societal and environmental and economic challenges, a variety of innovation areas. So the key thing is that your proposal must identify a clearly evidenced or articulated pressing societal, environmental, or economic challenge. And then also within your proposal, you must show how your project or your innovation can help to solve them. This is really important in your application. And also, as I mentioned before, applications can come from any area of innovation. And it's really crucial that we define what innovation is. For the purpose of this competition, innovation is defined as the commercially successful exploitation of ideas. Sometime in May this year, we had a consultation session with award winners and women in the community. And one key thing, one feedback that we had was to define what innovation is. This is really important when you're putting your application together. And very simply, Innovation is just finding a better way of doing things, finding a better way of doing things. And so on the call today, we have fantastic women with ideas that are brimming in their brains, that have ideas that they have tried. And so you're welcome to put in your application today. So that's a very simple definition of innovation, and that is important as a scope for this call. And also, we are particularly encouraging applications from women who have the potential, the capability, the experience, and personal drive to become leaders in business and innovation. A key word that we use is access, and that's what this competition is about, giving women access. I mentioned at the beginning, women that are at the crucial stage of their business. We want women who want to be role models for others. It's so important, the relatable role model, because our research showed that that was lacking. And so we want women from all regions in the UK, any sector, but they want to be role models to our young people, to the next generation. We want women that have a clear vision for their business. And we want women who are looking to develop a game-changing, novel idea or business innovation. And the last point, we want to support women who know what they're hoping to achieve from the award and how to measure success. And so does this sound like you? If yes, and you meet the rest of the eligibility criteria, which my colleague Abby will be talking on, please come in and apply for the Women in Innovation competition. And so you may be wondering, Rachel, what is in it for me? I've got a fantastic business idea, but Rachel, what's the support package? I'll just talk you through the support package that we have. It is a unique competition, and it's a 12-month project. Your project must start on the 1st of April, 2022. It's a 50,000 grant. And we provide, in addition to the grant, we provide tailored business support and coaching. And this is provided by our colleagues in Innovate UK. So this will be bespoke and targeted to your particular business idea. And in addition to this, we have expert advice sessions, access to network. It's been fantastic to hear the testimonies of women around the peer-to-peer network. And there's so much power in supporting each other. And we can't thank our project partners, and we cannot thank KTN and Innovate UK for all the support, as Indra mentioned at the beginning, to the program. There's also press and media support to become a leading role model in innovation. There's radio opportunity, there's TV opportunity, there's lots more that the program will support you. Introduction to stakeholders as well, in the Innovate UK family network, and of course, Women in Innovation ambassadors and mentors is just some of the support you get from this program. In addition to this, I thought it was really important to share some of the examples, further example of some of the programs we've had, of some of the support we've offered in the past. So we've had sessions around personal branding, we've had sessions around self-care, we've had sessions around pitch readiness. We've also talked about women on board, and we've had sessions to empower women to talk about being a role model. Apart from that, we've shown access to certificates and social media opportunity, workshops and webinars. There's loads more that the program will offer you, and you'll be hearing more from some of our award winners from the different cohorts in a few minutes, and they'll be sharing their experience on the program. I mentioned at the beginning that one of the areas we found was lacking from the research that Innovate UK conducted in 2016 was around relatable role model. And this gave birth to us opening a campaign. It's the Purple Plaque Initiative, or the Purple Plaque campaign. And this is really about inspiring the next generation. There's so much power in inspiring the next generation. There's so much resource. And that's really the key element of the Purple Plaque campaign. So we roll this out across schools in the UK. And what happens is all the Women in Innovation Award winners, they can come, they can give us the name of the school maybe that they went to, the school of their grandkids, the school that they're connected to. And essentially, the Purple Plaque Initiative encourages and supports women-led businesses to engage in schools. We create role model and challenge perception of what and who an innovator or an entrepreneur is. And we know that there are fantastic entrepreneurs on the call today. So Innovate UK is partnering with Founders for School to enable our award winners to inspire students up and down the country. And we do this using the Founders for Schools digital platform. And so the last two slides before I end my session, it's really around the commitment. So I've shared what we have, what is in store if you're putting your application, but I just thought I'd wrap up by sharing what is the commitment as a Women in Innovation Award holder. I mentioned earlier, it's a 12-month project. It's £50,000 of funding provided by Innovate UK, and your project must start 1st of April 2022. In addition to this, we do organize 2 boot camps during the 12-month project. So one is scheduled for March, and the next one will be in September. The boot camp is a fantastic opportunity where you meet other Women in Innovation Award holders, you share ideas, peer-to-peer support, and we have fantastic talks all around your project just to give you that additional support to ensure that you are able to succeed in the 12-month period. And also, very important, the last commitment is, of course, the role model aspect, and we apportion 5 days during the duration of the award. I'd just like to talk on the last slide around the projects that we will not fund, and there's more information on our website. So very importantly, the projects that we will not fund are those that do not intend to use the full package of support and offer, those that will have a negative impact on the environment or society, and those that have detrimental effects on equality, diversity, and inclusion. I mentioned at the beginning that this is the heart of Innovate UK's agenda, and Indra rightly mentioned at the beginning, we're passionate about providing that access and support to women. We've done so well in the last few years, but there's still further than we have to go. We have seen a 70% increase in the number of women applying to Innovate UK, but we can do more. And that's why we want to support you today to put in your application. We will not support projects that do not involve any research or development or innovation. For example, the creation of information-only website. And also, importantly, my colleague Abby will be going through the eligibility shortly. We're not going to support projects that do not meet the competition eligibility or scope. If there's anything, and the list goes on and it's on the competition page, if there's anything you're not sure of or you need clarification, we'll be having the contact at the end. We're so convinced that there are fantastic women in the audience today with fantastic business idea. And this is the opportunity that we're having to give you the access into our funds. Please do not hesitate to contact us, to email us. And if we need to work around your time, we will do that. We are listening to the women in the community, and we want to give you that support because you have this fantastic idea that can address some of the societal, environmental, or economic challenges that we see. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we look forward to seeing fantastic applications in this round of Women in Innovation competition. Thank you so much, and I'll now hand over to my colleague, Abby Wood. You're welcome.
Hi everybody, thank you Rachel. So I'm Abby Wood, Portfolio Manager at Innovate UK on this competition. So I'm just going to go through the eligibility criteria and how to apply on the Innovation Funding Service website. So the competition is open to individuals only. So, and you must be a female founder, co-founder or senior decision maker within a UK registered micro, small or medium-sized business that has been operating for at least a year by the competition close date, which is the 13th of October. So you must be able to carry out your project work in the UK and intend to exploit the results of your project from or in the UK. You must be legally and contractually able to use the funding. You must be available for interview week commencing the 6th of December this year, and be able to attend 2 boot camps in March and September next year. And you must also commit to spending up to 5 days over the duration of the award doing work as a role model for the Women in Innovation programme. And as we've said, your project must be 12 months in duration, and it must start on the 1st of April 2022. So, you can submit a previous application into this competition. So, for example, you may have applied into the Women in Innovation competition last year, but were unsuccessful. And if this is the case, then by all means, use any feedback you received to improve your application and reapply. So as long as you didn't receive any funding for your project, you can resubmit it. So on 1st of January 2021, the UK left the EU, so is no longer subject to EU laws on state aid. So we now offer grants based on the new BEIS subsidy control regime, which adheres to the UK-EU Trade and Cooperation Agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol, among other agreements. And the funding for this competition is being awarded under special drawing rights, or SDR, as I refer to it. It's similar to what used to be de minimis aid. And these are small funding allowances agreed by the UK-EU Trade and Cooperation Agreement, but there is a limit to how much you can receive in any rolling 3 fiscal year period. So you need to declare previous SDR or de minimis funding. And there is a declaration form in question 1, which deals with this, and I'll go through that later. If you are an applicant who is conducting activities that will affect the trade of goods and or electricity between Northern Ireland and the EU, as envisaged by Article 10 of the Northern Ireland Protocol, then you will fall under European Commission state aid rules, or de minimis. And as with SDR, you still need to declare any awards that you've received in the last 3 years, be it as de minimis aid or SDR. And you should make sure that your organisation, or you or your organisation, is eligible before you submit an application. So that is, you need to ensure that you have not received more than approximately £335,000 in de minimis aid or SDR in this and the last 2 financial years. And if you're unsure of whether you're eligible to receive a subsidy, we do ask you to seek independent legal advice, because we can't advise you. We do have further information on our website. You can also contact our customer support services team if you have any questions. And you'll see that on this slide, there is also a link to information on company sizes if you're unsure if your business falls into the category of micro, small or medium-sized. And this slide outlines other reasons why we would not be able to award you any funding. So you cannot receive this award if you were previously successful in another Women in Innovation competition. If you have an overdue independent accountant's report from another Innovate UK project, we can't give you any more funding. And the same if you did not exploit an award given to you by Innovate UK, or if you fail to comply with grant terms and conditions in a previous competition. Now, these are the key dates to bear in mind for this competition. So it opened yesterday, so you're now able to start and submit your applications. Today is the briefing event, and then the competition closes on the 13th of October. And it is important to note that the submission deadline is 11 AM on the dot. So IFS, or the Innovation Funding Service, will automatically close at 11. So literally at 11:01, you can't submit an application. So please don't leave your submission to the last minute. There will potentially be lots of traffic on the site on deadline day. And if you encounter problems and we can't help you in time, there's nothing we can do. We cannot accept submissions after the deadline date. So just bear that in mind. Also, interviews for shortlisted applicants will be held week commencing 6th of December. So please be available that week. And then the final date on here is notification. So you will be notified of your success or otherwise on the 17th of December. And we'll now go over the Innovation Funding Service, or IFS as we call it, which is the online platform that you're going to use to view the competition brief and complete your application. And I'm going to go through this step by step now. First, you need to go to the Innovate UK website. And at the top of the homepage on the right-hand side, there's an option to search for funding opportunities. And if you click on this, it will take you to a list of all current Innovate UK competitions. You can scroll through or use the search function to find the Women in Innovation Awards. And if you click on the title, it will open the competition. And then once you've opened it, you will see the open and close dates at the top there, a green button for starting your application, and a tabbed view of the eligibility criteria, the scope, key dates, information on how to apply, and some additional supporting information. Please make sure that you read through all the information within the tabs, and then when you're happy to apply, you just simply click Start New Application. To apply for a competition, you will need to create an account first. If you've applied for previous competitions on IFS, you can simply sign in. And if you've forgotten your password, you just need to click the Need Help Signing In or Creating an Account drop down, and this will then bring up a Forgotten Your Password link. Then please use the Company's House lookup function to search for your organisation. Remember, your business will need to be registered for this competition. And once you've set up your account and input your business details, you will come to an overview page of your application. Your personal application number will be given at the top, and this will be 8 digits, and you will need this number later for your SDR declaration form and any subsequent communication with us. You will also see a progress bar that indicates how much of the application you've completed. And it will list all the project details sections that need to be completed and all the application questions, which aren't quite on this slide, but we will go through these shortly. And then by the time you've finished, each section should show as complete down the right-hand side. Now, for legal reasons, we need to capture whether your business has any links to Northern Ireland. So please just answer these questions honestly. Your answers don't make a difference to your eligibility or contribute to the success of your application. We have to ask these because we are awarding subsidies under the new subsidy control rules. And the next section under project details is application team. Now, this will summarise your business name and your email address. It will give you the option to add other people into your application. But since this competition is for single applicants only, we ask that you do not add anybody else in. You remain the only person completing the application form. And under application details, you can give your project a title in the box given, and it will ask for the start date of your project and its duration. Now, just remember, these elements are part of the eligibility criteria of the competition. So you will need to put the start date as the 1st of April 2022 and the duration as 12 months. Then we ask you to select the area of your innovation. So this is the sector that your project best fits into. So if you click on the blue link, a list will appear for you to choose from. And you just need to select the type of project yours is, or else you can go to the bottom and just select My Innovation Area is not listed. and then you can click Save. Finally, there is a question that asks if your application has been submitted previously. And as I said before, resubmissions are allowed as long as you haven't already been awarded funding for your projects. So just say yes or no as is applicable to you. Then click Mark as complete, and you will then see a summary of your selections. So this is an example summary page of your application details. You can see the start date is given as 1st of April 22, and the duration is 12 months. So all applications should be saying this. And then the innovation area will be whatever you chose from the list, or else you specified your own innovation area. But if you've made a mistake or you want to change anything, you can go back and edit, as you can see with the blue edit button on the slide here. The next question asks you to complete an equality, diversity and inclusion survey, for which there is a link that opens in a new window. And we're asking all applicants across all our competitions to complete this in order to address underrepresentation in business innovation. The survey is going to ask about your gender, age, ethnicity and disability status. But if you're not comfortable answering, you can select prefer not to say. You then just need to tick yes that you've completed it. But bear in mind that if you have previously done this survey using the same email address, for example, on another Innovate UK competition, it won't let you do it again. So just tick yes and continue. And if you click on the arrow that says, how should I complete the EDI survey? It will give you this extra information about the survey. And there are blue arrows like this across all the questions, and it give you more detail. So please ensure you access all of the guidance that we give you. Your overview page might now look something like this, with some sections ticked and marked as complete. Then under project summary, it will ask you to describe yourself, your business and your idea briefly. This question isn't scored, but we will use it to assign experts to assess your application. And we will ask you to write a description of your project that you're happy to see published. So be careful not to include any commercially sensitive information here. And if you're awarded funding, this description will be published. And the scope section asks you to explain how your project aligns with the scope of this competition. So you'll need to read the brief thoroughly and specifically address what is listed in the scope section. Then we come to the application questions. So you'll see there are 11 questions for this competition, but only questions 6 to 10 are scored. And these are weighted according to their importance. So question 1 is your special drawing rights declaration form that I talked about earlier, followed by some unscored questions. Question 6 is a video pitch and worth 34% of the overall score. So this is quite significant. And questions 7 to 10 are further scored questions that you must complete fully, worth 17% or 16% of the overall score, as indicated on the slide. Question 9 has the option of 2 appendices. One is mandatory and one is optional. And question 10 has an optional appendix allowance, so please just bear those in mind. And then there is also a question at the end regarding the project start date. So we want to make sure people are aware this project start date is quite important, because there is only one date that we're starting on. So this question does affect your eligibility, so please take care. And as I mentioned a second ago, very detailed guidance is associated with each question. So make sure you click on the what should I include option to see the full extent of each question. So I'll start with the question 1, which is the special drawing rights declaration. So in order to be able to receive funding in this competition, it is legally required that you complete this form. and declare any funding that you've received under de minimis rules or special drawing rights in this financial year and the last 2. For this question, you'll need to click on the link to download the template. You'll need to fill it in, save as a PDF, and then upload. And then we ask that in the text box, you just type declaration attached. Now, to give you some additional guidance, this is what the declaration form looks like, because it might look a bit complicated. The bits in red are not on the real form. This is just for the sake of this briefing. It is essentially a 2-page legal letter that asks you to tell us if you've received any other public funding under the terms of special drawing rights or de minimis in this financial year or the previous 2. And if you have received funding in the past 3 years, then by law it should have been made very clear to you if the funding was given under SDR or de minimis rules. So you should be aware if you need to declare anything here. So I'll just go through it in a bit more detail. At the top, there are 3 lines in bold. File reference is just for our use, so ignore that. Your application number, as I mentioned before, is the number assigned to you when you started your application and is shown on your application overview page on IFS. So this is an 8-digit number. You need to put that here, and also the title that you've given your project in the application. The next part of the letter contains 2 calculators to help you convert any funding from pounds to SDR. The first calculator can be used to convert to or from the euro. The second calculator can be used to get the SDR equivalent from any currency. Though you will see the currency converter tool refers to SDR as XDR IMF special drawing rights. Then on the second page, there is a box for you to complete. Bear in mind that we are in the 2021 to 2022 financial year. So basically you need to think back as far as April 2019 and look ahead to the end of this financial year, which will be next April 2022. And just ask yourself, did you receive any money in the form of a grant, maybe from the government or a public body that was stated as de minimis aid or SDR? And if so, you need to put here who you received the funding from, how much it was for in pounds, the equivalent amount in SDR using the calculator, and the date you received it. If you're currently applying into another SDR competition and there is a chance you will be awarded funding before the end of this current financial year, then you will need to include this as a precaution. And if you're not sure if some funding you received in the past was de minimis or SDR, we suggest you contact the organisation that gave you the money and ask them. So please think about this form from the start so that it doesn't hold your application up. If in doubt, just list the funding you've received, and if necessary, we'll contact you about it. But ultimately, your declaration form needs to be accurate and legal. And if you fail to declare any money that took you over the funding limits and we awarded you a grant, then by law, you would ultimately have to pay the money back. So it may be that you just need to put a 0 in the form because you haven't received anything. But very importantly, please make sure you type your name at the bottom to declare that you've read the form and completed it accurately. The signature is very important, so please don't leave that part blank. So moving on to questions 2 to 5. These are fairly straightforward, either requiring a yes or no answer, or just a short response about what previous support you may have had and how you heard about the Women Innovation Awards. So these questions are not scored by our assessors and are just for our own information. Now, question 6 is a video pitch. We didn't have this in last year's competition. And this is where we're specifically assessing your potential to be a leader and role model to inspire other women. And this is a key part of our scope. So this is where you can really sell yourself and your capabilities as a leader and role model. And it's worth 34% of your total score. But please take note of the video requirements. So we want you to use either YouTube or Vimeo. And if you cannot use either of these platforms, then you will need to contact our customer support team to see if we can accept the platform that you wish to use. Your video must be no longer than 3 minutes. If it is longer, then only the first 3 minutes will be watched by our assessors. And then very importantly, your video must be set up to be unlisted in the privacy settings. So if you set it as private and the assessors cannot view it, then they won't be able to score this question, which will bring your overall score down. So there are links within the question advising you how to create an unlisted video. And it's also important to ensure that your video stays active and available to view until the 1st of April 2022. Once again, please take note of all the bullet points within the question. This detail needs to be included in your pitch. And please ensure that you yourself are in the video. We want to see you describing your idea and why it is a good idea for business. And once you've created your video and set it to unlisted in the settings, please copy the link and any required passwords into the text box within the question. Questions 7 and 8 are particularly focused on your business idea and are worth 17% of the total score each. So that adding up to 34% for these two questions. Now, question 7 asks, what is the pressing societal, environmental or economic challenge you are trying to solve through your innovation, and what is the expected impact? Note the additional bullet points that will guide you on how to fully answer this question to get maximum marks. And question 8 asks, what new idea or business opportunity would you like to develop with the award, and why is this a critical next step for your business? And remember, we're looking to support women who are at a critical stage with their business, where an award will enable them to take an important step forward. Questions 9 and 10 focus on the package of support offered by the award and how this will impact your business in the future. So these two questions are worth 16% of the total score each, so 32% combined. Question 9 is about how you will use the package of support, and this includes the grant and the mentoring. We also want to know about the main risks and uncertainties of the project and how you plan to mitigate these. And as part of this question, you must upload a risk register as an appendix in PDF format. And you will get marked down if you don't include a risk register. To support your answer, you can also upload a project plan or a Gantt chart as a separate appendix, but this is optional. And then question 10 asks, what is the vision for your business and why is this the right time for you and your business to benefit from the award? Once again, please pay attention to all the bullet points within the question and note that there is an optional appendix here where you can upload details of any public or private support received to date. And finally, question 11 asks you to confirm that you will be ready to start your project on the 1st of April 2022. And you must select yes here, or your application will be made ineligible. And once you've completed all the questions, you will need to fill in the finance section. Firstly, remember that you will be unable to claim funding if your business is registered overseas and has a company beginning with FC. Also, if your organisation is set up as a branch and the number begins with BR, or if your company is based in Jersey and the number begins with JE. When you click into your project finances, you will get this page, which consists of 4 sections. The first of which is your project costs. It's important to remember that the grant amount is £50,000, so no more than this should be entered into this section. Your project costs are split into 7 different cost categories, But for this competition, we only want you to complete the labour costs. Now, this does not mean that your grant must only be spent on salaries. This is just a mandatory part of the application that needs to be completed. And to make it simple, we just want everyone to put the same thing into the application because everybody will be getting the same amount of grant. So under labour costs, please just enter your job title in the role within project field, enter 50,000 under gross employee cost and put the default 232 under days to be spent by all staff at this grade. And then this will give you a total of £50,000. You can leave all the other categories blank, just fill in the labour one. You'll then need to specify where most of the project work will take place under your project location. You will need to provide details about your business under your organisation. Remember, this competition is for micro, small or medium-sized businesses. And finally, you need to tick that yes, you are requesting funding and put in a funding level of 100%. And for the sake of our system and the way we process project costs, please just tick no to other funding as this may skew your total funding amount. And if you click into Finances Overview, you should end up with a table looking like this. Your total costs should be £50,000 with the funding level at 100%. And so the amount of funding sought is £50,000. At this point, the only thing left to do is review and sign up to the terms and conditions. And after you've signed the terms and conditions, you have the opportunity to review your entire application. And when you're happy everything is complete, you can press Submit Application. Now, if you find you need to edit your application once it's been submitted, then this is possible. So first you need to reopen your application. On your IFS dashboard, you will see the option to reopen, as shown in the slide. The option to reopen is also visible on your application status page. Once reopened, you can make changes to your application, but when you've finished, you must remember to resubmit. So you would just click on the green Review and Submit button, review your application once more, and then click the final Submit button. Don't forget to resubmit it. So remember, as I said, this competition closes at 11 AM on the dot. This table shows the typical number of applicants submitting their applications each hour leading up to the 11 AM deadline. As you can see, the majority of applicants leave it to the final hours or even minutes. We strongly recommend you submit your application as early as possible to avoid the last-minute technical issues that some people get. If you do have problems submitting, you must contact our customer support team straight away so they can try to help. But if you leave this too late, bearing in mind traffic is high on deadline day, if we're unable to help you in time, there's nothing further we can do and you may miss out. After submission, and assuming your application meets all the eligibility criteria, your application will be assessed by up to 5 independent assessors who will score and write feedback on your proposal. Assessors tell us that they want clarity, detail, justification, and to see that the applicant has presented a viable opportunity for growth with an exciting innovation where public funding will make a real difference to developing their idea. Make sure your application reads well. You want to keep the assessors engaged and interested in your proposal. And make sure you address the points in the guidance notes attached to each question so that they can award you the maximum marks. Here at Innovate UK, we do check the scores and feedback given by the assessors. And if we find that one assessor has scored particularly harshly or favourably, in contrast to the other 4 assessors, then we will review their score and feedback to ensure it's fair and that they've made valid points. And if we feel their score is unjust, then we can remove them and recalculate the average score. And the feedback given to you by the assessors is meant to be constructive, highlighting both positive and negative aspects of your application. Now, since all the assessors are independent, you may find they give conflicting feedback, but this simply reflects different people's interpretations of a project. You might also find that you get good feedback and high scores, but are not awarded the funding. This can be because your proposal unfortunately fell below the funding threshold within our portfolio approach, which takes into consideration relatability as a role model, region, and range of challenges and innovation area. Now, after assessment has finished, we generate a panel sheet that collates all the information. This is an excerpt from a panel sheet. The left-hand column shows the average score for different applications, and the highlighted column shows the score spread, which is the difference between the top and the bottom scores. The next two columns let us know whether an application has been marked out of scope or not recommended for funding. And if there is a 2 or more in either of the two columns, count of no scope or count of not recommended, then we review that application's detailed scores and feedback to check why this has happened and if it's justified. So this shows the breakdown of an application scores. The green box highlights a particular assessor's score. So let's say assessor 1. The purple box highlights a set of scores for a particular question. So in this case, question 5. And on the far right, we look for a difference of 20 or more within the assessor's total scores to identify an outlier. So at first glimpse, we would consider assessor 3 to be the outlier with a score of 62, because this is more than 20 away from all the other assessor scores. But we would then investigate if that low score was sufficiently backed up by their feedback. If the feedback doesn't align with the scores they've given for each question, then we would remove that assessor score and recalculate the average. Shortlisted applicants will be invited to attend an interview, for which you will need to give a presentation on your project. For these, you will need to be available week commencing 6th of December this year. These interviews will be conducted on Zoom, and all the details will be emailed to you in advance. If invited to interview, you will receive your feedback from the assessors from the written stage via IFS at this point, and you will get the opportunity to address any of the feedback by submitting a response on IFS. This is not compulsory, and you can instead address any concerns raised as part of your presentation or Q&A session in your interview. You can bring one other person to the interview with you if you think it's necessary and appropriate, and you will need to inform us in advance who this is. But remember that this award is for you alone, and we need to see evidence that you yourself are right for this award. We also ask you to submit your presentation slides ahead of the interview date, and you will be sent a deadline date by which to tell us who's coming to your interview and to send us your slides. And finally, at the end of the application process, when all applicants have been notified of their success or otherwise, which will be the 17th of December, all scores and feedback will become available on your IFS dashboard, and you will be notified when this can be viewed. Now, if you are unsuccessful, we hope that the assessor's feedback will be useful to you in developing your idea and will possibly enable you to apply into another competition in the future. You will also be invited to attend KTN webinar to explore other funding opportunities. But for those who are successful, you will proceed to project setup, which will be done through IFS. So please look out for emails or requests for information from IFS, and you'll be told what information you need to provide, and we ask you to comply as quickly as possible so there are no delays to your project start. The initial details like project details and bank details will need to be done within 30 days. For example, in order for us to ensure we're paying the correct business, we need to verify the bank account we'll be paying your grant into. And the simplest way of doing this is for you to provide us with a copy of a redacted bank statement. We're not interested in looking at transactions going through your account. It's simply confirmation that the company name you use when creating your application matches that which appears on your company bank account. And then following initial setup, there is a further 60 days in which to complete project setup. And this will include signing and returning your grant offer letter. If you're successful, you'll be paid your grant in 3 instalments. The figures are slightly odd, but it's 33,333 in March 2022, just before you start your project. 11,667 will be paid at the midpoint in October 2022, and the final 10% at the end of your project on receipt of a completed statement of expenditure. Throughout your project, you will liaise with an innovation and growth specialist from Innovate UK Edge, who will support you and help you maximise your project and business potential. And you will also work with a monitoring officer. And that brings us to the end of the briefing on my side. So we are going to go to a Q&A. So if you have any questions, I think we're going to move over to them.
Thanks, Abby, and thanks, Rachel. So yes, we're going to jump to Q&A, and I've been answering a couple of them on the chat messages on YouTube. You should also see that I've posted a frequently asked questions document on YouTube a couple of times. Please do review that. There's a lot of questions that we've already answered on that, so I won't be repeating quite a few of the ones that we've already answered on the FAQ. But I do have a number of questions, so let's jump right in. And Abby, I'm going to throw this one to you. How much notice will shortlisted applicants receive ahead of the interview?
There'll be a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact number, but it's about 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, you've already posted the dates online of the week that the interviews will be held as well. So hopefully that might act as a little bit of a notice period as well for some of the applicants. So Abby went through dates earlier on, and there was a number of different dates that she included, which also mentions the week that the interviews will be held if you are invited. I'm going to go to Rachel and Abby. You might want to jump in on this one as well. So with regards to the video, if the IP of the idea is very sensitive, how is the project in the video protected and that doesn't impact the IP?
So I don't know, Abby, if you have additional point, but definitely if that is on Vimeo, we should have protection. But if you're unsure of anything, please do contact our customer service and they'll be able to advise you further. I don't know, Abby, if you have anything to add to that.
I mean, I believe we're asking you to select unlisted in your settings, but I mean, we can assure you that the videos will only be watched by the team at Innovate UK and the assessors. It won't be going any wider than that. We do need to get a good idea of what your business is, obviously, for you to get the best marks and for us to really understand what you're doing. So if there's anything really sensitive and you feel you can allude to it without, I don't know, but we do, yeah, it's a tough one, but we do still need to know what your idea is.
Yeah, I just also wanted to add, I think on Vimeo, you can actually add password on it. So if you're unsure about anything, do contact the customer service. So what you could do, you could submit the video, attach the password, and in that way it will only be the assessors and just the panel that will be able to have access to your video, and it won't be public.
Okay, so just to recap on that one, the video link will only be viewed by the Innovate UK team that is working on women in innovation and the assessors who are going to look at your application. It will not be shared wider than that. If you have any significant doubts, contact the customer support services team. But again, there's an element of you making sure that you're given enough information to get the innovative idea across, but you don't necessarily need to share all of your IP. It is a 3-minute video, so hopefully that should mitigate the need to overshare on certain elements as well. Let's go forward. So you've already mentioned this, Abby, but we'll reiterate this. Where's the interview being held?
It would be online. It would be on Zoom, and we will share all the links that you will need and timings ahead of the event.
Perfect. And somebody else asked, which I'll answer if you don't mind, is the bootcamp held in person or online? Traditionally, before this last year, they were all held in person. This past year, we've held them all online. When we're making decisions about in-person versus online, we do take into account the situation that's happening nationally, health implications for both our staff and our award winners, and we will consult on that process. So at present, we're not able to say if it is held in person or online for the boot camps. Moving forward, that will be a decision made in collaboration with everybody involved, and implications for accessibility will be taken into account at them stages as well. So question for you again, Abby, does the application need to be completed online in one go, or are we able to complete and save as we go along?
Yes, you can save as you go along. Each section has this save or mark as complete button attached, so you can fill out a section, save it, and leave it till the next day if you want to, and progress through it that way. There is a timeout on it, so just be aware that you might want to, if one of the longer answers, you might want to prepare the answer offline and then post it in. I think the timeout is quite, I can't remember the exact length of time. It's quite a long time, but I know that a couple of people in the past have got caught out by it. So just be aware of that.
Rachel, a question for you. Can more than one woman from a company apply? So if there's a duo of a co-founding team that are both female, can they both apply?
Yes, we encourage that. But the key thing is that you must have two different ideas. We'll be funding one woman for one project. The unique thing about the Women in Innovation program is that it's for one woman, apart from the grant, all the package of support. And that's why it's crucial that you can have people helping you with your program, but the award is for one woman because of the additional support that we have. So if there are two women in a company and one has one idea and the other is working on another aspect of the business, that is fine to put in your application. But the key thing is that each project is for one woman because we want to support that woman with her business idea.
I know we had a lot of questions about that clarification between the individual part of the application and the company. So I think Rachel alluded to that, but hopefully Abby can elaborate a little bit more on, I hope my understanding is it's the individual award winner that will be showcased and held to the commitment aspects or supported along the way. The company would receive the funding for the project.
Yeah. So the grant goes into the business bank account. That's right, isn't it, Rachel?
Yes.
But we want one person on the application because that's the person that needs to be engaging with the program and performing the role model duties. So it needs to be clear who the person is from that business.
Yeah, because before now we've had questions where people ask, can I have someone helping me with my business? Or I do have business partners. That's fine for people to contribute. But as Abby and Shuan have alluded to, it's important that we have one lead applicant for one project or one application, because that's who we'll be engaging with when we have the Purple Plaque event, when we have the boot camps, and when we have the various sessions. We'll be engaging with one person. But if you need expertise or someone to help you with aspects, that's also fine. But the key thing is one lead applicant on the application form.
And to really make sure that that is noted on the application form as well, to avoid any confusion. Going forwards, I've got a question. I'm going to pose this one to you again, Abby. Is there a possibility of an NDA signing for independent assessors?
I mean, they already sign. They already sign something similar to cover the assessments they do, because obviously at Innovate UK, they're assessing many projects with sensitive information that doesn't want to be public. So all of our assessors have to sign these types of things anyway. So you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, and the other thing I just wanted to add to what Abby has mentioned, we'll be having a briefing event with our assessors as well. So we'll walk them through. So you don't need to worry about that. All that has been taken care of.
Yeah, perfect. Rachel, question for you. Does the project absolutely have to start on the 1st of April 2022?
This is crucial for our Innovate funding system. It's crucial that the project starts 1st of April 2022. It's a 12-month project, and it's key because, and this is the unique thing about the Women in Innovation program, we have upfront payment and we cannot move those timelines. Do contact us if you have any concern, but it's crucial. Our system will only allow you for a 12-month project. So that will be 1st of April until 31st of March 2023. Do contact us if you have any concern, but I'm afraid that is one area of eligibility that is crucial that we meet for this program. It's a 12-month program.
And also to add on to that, apologies, Rachel, the support package includes not only that one-to-one mentorship support, but support elements that bring the whole cohort together. Therefore, you're working alongside other members of the cohort for that 12-month period. We need a set start date for that. That comes into play as well. Let me see what other questions we've got. I've got a question. Are you able to give examples of previous successful projects? We're going to go over to some of our award holders, and I know some of them are actually online. So Pauline Dawes is online, Emma Fieldhouse is online as well. Please do reach out to them and ask them to explain a little bit more about their business. I'm sure that they will be happy to tell you a little bit more about certain elements. Joanna Doyle has asked, can you work full-time whilst completing your project if this is a side hustle? So, Rachel?
Yes, I think this is the unique thing about the Women in Innovation campaign. We want to support every woman. So if you have any concerns in terms of balancing, there are many fantastic women currently that work, and some of them have small children, and some of them are juggling so many things. And that's why this program has been made available. We want to give an opportunity to every woman. So if you have any concerns as you're putting your application together, please do reach out to us through the customer service and we can discuss that with you. But we don't want to put any barrier and say it's for a particular type of woman or it's for a particular background. It's open for everyone. There are women currently that are working, there are women currently that are in education, but you're all welcome, and we want to support you to achieve and to ensure that your business is scaled up to the next level. I think that's the main thing about this program. It's really supportive to every woman.
Thank you. We've got time for one more question. I know lots of you have got loads of questions online. Don't worry, we will be taking them all off, making sure that we clarify them and adding them to the frequently asked questions document. I will post another link for the frequently asked questions document in a couple of minutes time as well on the chat, so you can review that. But the last question I want to pose to Abby, and a lot of people have been asking about the £50,000 under the labour costs. So can you just clarify why you're asking for them to include it there? And what is the kind of background behind it? Will that impact how they use the funding?
Okay, so in our system, we have 7 cost categories, because across a lot of our other competitions, we're asking people to break down what their project costs, and we're asking them to break down what they fall into, whether it's subcontractors or materials or whatever. This doesn't apply to the Women in Innovation competition, because we're not asking you at this point to break down your costs and tell us what you're going to spend. Well, we have a question about your costs, but in the finance section, we're not asking you to break down your costs like that. And unlike in some other competitions, this is a set amount. So the £50,000, every award winner will get the same amount. So this is why we only want you to put £50,000 in as a lump sum into the finance section. So don't worry about the fact that it goes under labour. It could go under, in theory, I could tell you to put it under any of the cost categories, but I'm just saying labour just to make it simple for everybody. So if everybody puts the same amount in the same category, it just makes it's for our end, really. It just makes it easier in the system. We don't want you to put any more than 50,000 or any less. We just want you to put the set 50,000 in, and that's it, really. Does that explain?
Perfect, thank you, Abby. And this recording will be made available afterwards. So the set screens that Abby showed earlier on, you'll notice a couple of them, she did put arrows and say enter this amount or enter this date in this box. You've got this recording, you can review it as you're going through them stages of inputting your application to make sure that you're adhering to everything that Abby has asked you to put in certain places, and also to keep that guidance on the questions as we go through. So I'm going to call it a day there with the questions for now. We've got a short video to play, and then we'll be inviting our award holders into the discussion to tell you a little bit more about their experience.
And when I sat down with the application form, I immediately was like, oh yeah, this is the right fund for me, because even the application form was different from a lot of application forms that you fill out. So it was really focused on leadership and on vision. And as part of the process, I really allowed myself, in a way that I hadn't done up to this point, to say, okay, well, this award is about me. It's actually not about, the company sits behind that, but this is about me in a way that other things aren't normally. And it also comes with support, and it comes with a network, and that network is going to really help you as well. So, it's, for me, then it's a no-brainer, because you put yourself out there, and what's the worst that can happen?
So being in a group like Women in Innovation cohort is such a refreshing experience, and often it feels like it's such a lonely journey. Innovate UK is providing us day-to-day support. I also personally found the peer-to-peer support one of the most useful aspects of the Innovate UK Women in Innovation program, because we are all in the same boat. And it's really interesting to see that what everyone's struggles are and how we can help each other just purely by providing advice. So I think peer support is often underrated and it's really important.
But the award, I think, gave us the confidence in the sense that we think that we can do it. We think we're clearly good enough. We have the technology, we have the backing.
But now I want to share that story and say to other women, you know what? It's hard, but you can do it and you can keep fighting. Write those applications, talk to the people who matter.
Innovate UK has been really great, providing a platform to learn from and to also to meet other inspiring entrepreneurs. And the reason why I got to know about the program, Women Innovation particularly, is because the previous cohorts, some of them are my friends, who are also female hustlers in different industries, and they've had so much great feedback about how much the program has helped them to achieve what they want to achieve. Right now, if I do meet other female founders, I would say you definitely should apply because of the amount of learning you'll get and also the support network you get, because it's sometimes quite lonely and challenging if you're on your own and you don't have a sounding board. It's about shaping role models. You don't always have to be already super successful Fortune 500 company to apply, because the idea is that it's creating you, giving you all the tools you need to grow into potentially that person, right, to inspire others.
I come from a very academic background. I'm used to writing research grants. If you're writing an application for Innovate UK, a standard research grant application is not going to fly, it's not going to work. I remember the first time we did this, sending something into KTN and getting some feedback on that and getting amazing feedback that absolutely was crystal clear in terms of what we should be doing, what we should be aiming for, and what Innovate UK is really looking for in these applications. And I've got no doubt that that led to the first success in terms of our Innovate UK funding. The Women in Innovation Award has been fantastic, I think, from a personal point of view, because it's really supported me in my kind of personal development from academic and physician through to somebody who's scaling, running a business, trying to achieve global impact. So I think for anyone who's thinking about applying for Women in Innovation, I would first of all wholeheartedly advise them to apply. If you're not sure, though, seek advice, seek help, because there's lots of people out there who will be very happy to talk you through the application, what it's about, what you're going to get out of it, how to increase your chances of success. And also, I think what they've done really well is that there's a programme of activities and a network that develops out of the back of that. So it taps into a whole wider area of support and knowledge through KTN, of things like webinars and other sort of educational opportunities that fall out the back of that. So you'll still have access to lots of ongoing opportunities and things. So I'd say go for it, but don't be scared to ask for help and support and advice. Lots of people there who will encourage you along the way.
So welcome back, everyone. I hope that short video gives you a bit of insight into the support package that comes around women in innovation and how it can help you. To give you even more insight into that process, we've invited some of our award winners. Now we've got 2 from our 2016/2017 cohort online with us today, and 2 award winners from our latest cohort, so 2020-2021. I'm going to introduce our newest cohort members first. Apologies for that. So I've got Sophie Walker online with us today. Sophie is the COO, co-founder of Disposal, a clean tech company who, along with its sister social enterprise, Your Disposal, is on a mission to empower people to make better decisions with their resources and waste by increasing transparency and accountability to make a positive impact on our environment. So welcome, Sophie. Thank you for joining us today. We've also got Christina King. Christina is the Chief Commercial Officer at Tribosonics. Tribosonics' unique sensing technologies generate data, enabling digitalization to create value and enhance sustainability. So also welcome, Christina. From our earliest cohort, we've got Lauren Gresser. Lauren is the CEO of DemDX, an award-winning healthcare company based in London. And we've got Pei Natwali. Pei is the founder of Trick, a drone mapping and 3D reporting software for structural inspection. So we've brought our very newest cohort and our very earliest cohort online to give you a bit of insight. And I'm going to do a little bit of compare and contrast on the first question, so I hope you don't mind. And I'm going to jump to you, Pei, for the first question. So before you applied for Women in Innovation, what experience did you have of Women in Innovation? Because in 2016, it was a very new competition.
I think it was the first year, and I don't actually know much about it at all. And I know about the competition quite late as well. One of my first concerns is that I'm like not a UK British citizen. I'm not from here. Would I be eligible? I almost not apply. But I think I have like very good mentor that say like it doesn't hurt to just go for it. There's nothing written down that you can't apply because you're a foreigner. As long as you set up a company in the UK, you're legit, you should try it out. And I don't actually know much what to expect, so I end up kind of like searching and contacting everything that appear that you can contact and get more information of. And yeah, very, very little knowledge back in that day. Didn't actually know if I got in what to expect either.
Well, hopefully this conversation will help some of our future applicants. On the opposite scale, Christina, you applied last year and you were successful, but Women in Innovation have been going from 2016. So what experience did you have of Women in Innovation at the time that you applied?
I had a lot of it. I was very aware of the Women in Innovation program because I actually went to the briefing. It must have been in 2015 if it was the 2016 winners. So I went to that briefing, which I think was online, and I worked at a university at the time, and I was just like, wow, this is an amazing program. I really want to go for this, but I couldn't at the time because I was part of a university. So because I was dealt with kind of innovation funding anyway, I was very aware of Innovate UK and the different streams of funding. So I always kept an eye on and always was part of the newsletter, because you've got your own newsletter for Women in Innovation. It's not just about this funding, it's about other events that happen. So I definitely recommend you get on that. So when it came out last year, I thought, well, I just can't believe it. I'm in a perfect position now to actually go for this project. It was my dream, and I know I'm gushing about it, but it honestly was, and that's what I did put in my LinkedIn post at the time when I won it. I was so pleased. It was the one I really wanted for years, something like this to really go for, that really fitted what I wanted to do, really kind of with my beliefs and the fact that we need to get more women into innovation. So I had a lot of experience, I suppose, and being aware of that. But in terms of actually going for the project, it was, I didn't have experience of that. I had gone for funding streams before, but I think this is a bit nuanced. So it's kind of talking to other, and I did actually talk to another previous winner, Agnes from Airex, and kind of talk through, you know, do you think this is the sort of project that, and she was like, yeah, you should go for this, you know, it's brilliant. So, you know, just getting some feedback and some insights from other winners to really kind of ground it and think, yeah, I could go for this. So yeah, that's my experience.
Thanks, Christina. I'm going to jump now to Sophie and Lauren. So the application process, as Christina mentioned, is a bit different from other applications. So I really want to touch about how you approached the application and then what your experience was like during that process. So Lauren, can I come to you first?
Yes, I think it is quite, some bits are very similar, some bits are very different. So I suppose that the things that are similar to other applications would be the information that you want in terms of what's the project about and the milestones and, you know, the vision of that. But what is very distinctive is the sort of the personal element. I mean, I don't know if I was part of that first cohort you mentioned. I'm glad you said earliest rather than the oldest, because I definitely feel the oldest. But so that's kind of unusual, where you're actually asking about the individual themselves and their personal sort of ambitions and what they can bring to the program. But I thought it was very well explained. I thought then the interview was one of the first applications that I and the company had gone for, where there was an actual interview process. And again, there's the sort of it was really nice to be able to talk about your sort of personal ambitions and how you fitted in versus just purely about the project. And that was very. It was kind of, it was a nice combination, the fact that it was drawing on the individual as much as the project.
Thanks, Lauren. And over to you, Sophie.
Yeah, so I was actually sent the links to apply by, I think, like 2 or 3 of my contacts who encouraged me to apply. And I think sort of when I saw it, I thought, you know, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds interesting. And I don't know, I think like lots of women, I find it a bit hard to think of myself as a sort of woman in innovation or entrepreneur, but you know, the fact that people had sent it to me and thought that I should apply made me sort of feel a bit more confident about it. And at the time we were having sort of preliminary conversations with Manchester NHS Foundation Trust about some software that they were looking to get built to help them manage their waste better. And I just thought, do you know what, this feels like a really perfect fit. And also what's really great is that the waste team at the NHS Trust is all women as well, or almost all women. So it felt like such a great kind of totally women-led project. And so I kind of, I don't know, sort of felt serendipitous to apply. So I think the application process is, it's sort of kind of pretty straightforward. It is different from other Innovate UK projects if you've applied for any of those. So it's really worth reading the questions really well and really making sure you're answering those specific questions. I think how I always sort of approach these things is really try to imagine, like, start with the end in mind. So what do you want the project, you know, if you were successful, what will you have achieved and what will your impact have been at the end of it? And then basically sort of work backwards from there. So I did that with this as well. And then I feel like once you've got that kind of project plan in place, you can then really start to flesh out all of the more wordy bits, because you've kind of understood what you're going to do and how you're going to get where you want to go. So that's how I did it.
Thank you. Now I'm going to explore a little bit more about the actual support package around women in innovation. And I really want to get a glimpse from each of you about what was the part of the support package and the Women in Innovation programme that you found most beneficial so far. I know for our current award winners and for our previous ones, which are the ones that you took the most from and have utilised even after your 12-month period of support. So can I jump in with Christina first on this one?
Okay, so I mean, it is all the obvious things, like so for me, the things that really helped is the events and the networking, the masterclasses. It is disappointing that we haven't been able to meet in person. That's the biggest kind of unfortunate thing about the pandemic, because I think it would have increased that kind of those opportunities to cross-fertilize across different projects, because I see there are some in similar industries to me. The mentoring, definitely. I mean, I like the way that we had an opportunity to meet kind of quickly some different mentors, and then I quickly contacted Siobhan and said, I want Jill. She's kind of on my hit list. I'd love to kind of speak. We kind of connected, and she's been a fantastic mentor and support with that. And I think just the some of the marketing opportunities that we have, you know, the purple plaques is a really great idea, and it's something that we can talk about through the business, and it's about kind of the inspiring and the marketing campaign side that goes along this project. It isn't just a project to deliver, which is really important. It is about kind of being a champion for women in innovation, and this kind of gives you the platform to do that. I've got some really good, you know, being able to talk about it, and this award, you know, a lot of our corporate customers from all around the world kind of got in contact. It was, you know, it was a really kind of prestigious thing to get. So it was a, you know, great opportunity from that perspective. And I just wanted to mention, just because it's fresh in my mind, and it's very similar to this, but if there are other people, and obviously the current cohort and previous cohort as well, at the same time, I applied for the Royal Academy of Engineering SME program, but I think they've changed it now. It's like an accelerator program. But and I've got that as well. And actually the support from both of those programs has really complemented each other. And I think, you know, there's a lot of there's not as much diversity in that group. There's not as many women, obviously, because it's more broad, and there is a lot of people down south. I do work in the north. So I would encourage people to look into that, because I think, especially with this program as well, it kind of combines really nicely.
Thanks, Christina. That's actually really, we've got Hayton on as well shortly, and she will be able to elaborate a little bit more on the great program that the Royal Academy of Engineering have been running as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Over to you, Pei. What did you find most beneficial?
Well, besides the obvious thing that Christina has already mentioned, I think for me, it's like what I see benefit for me personally and to the business. Let's split it into that way. Personally, when I got the awards back in the day, I still haven't figured out how to be an entrepreneur. I may present as if I know what I'm doing, but in theory, with so much doubt internally, so many things I don't know and actually don't know how to approach it. I think one of the best thing is the mentoring is not only for the business, but it's like for you as a person as well, and how to overcome that imposter syndromes, how to believe in yourself more, because if you succeed, the business succeed as well. And I think for me, I think different people have different take on it, but me back in that day, I still don't believe in myself as much. And this actually helps a lot, having someone who's been through it, someone who's more experienced, pointing things out, helping me, guiding me through some of the way. And sometimes I'm just like literally breaking down because it's just not faith in myself for no good reason. And I think those things help. And it's a space where you can be vulnerable. You don't need to pretend that everything's okay all the time. You have people who understand. I even have mentors who recommend me how to dress in order to go to a first meeting with clients. And me not being from the UK, those little things mean a lot, more than people expect. And I think those kind of like things that you can't find randomly, you can't find on the internet. There's no one telling you about it. You need a safe space in order to ask these questions. I think for me, that's very, very crucial for me in the early day. And I grow a lot as a person and have gained a lot more opportunity based on the more confidence and the other tips and tricks of how to operate in here. As for the business side of things, it's the PR exposure. I think that helped propel the business into a different level, because once you start having some PR exposure, once people already have some news about you, building on top of that is much easier. It's just getting into like media attention to begin with was very, very difficult. But after the program, I think if you're good, then no question asked, like media will pick it up, people will pick it up. And it's not only just news, it's also investor There's also clients. There are loads of people who contacting me, or it's much easier for me to get through the door to meet lots of people, because when they Google my name, it pop up. So I think that helps a lot. And I think not many program is doing that enough to promote people as kind of like individual person as well as the business as well. So for me, it have huge impact on me, but more so on the personal level in early career, kind of that way. So different perspective.
Thank you, Peg. Lauren, over to you. What was most beneficial to you?
So I kind of agree with everything said. So it's hard to find something original or new to add. I suppose a couple of things. One is, and it's very personal to kind of where my organization was and where I was, but I'd say two distinctive things, again, taking the business personal split. On the business side, and anyone who's applying will probably be in a similar situation, I don't know, but the business was very early on, and frankly, getting the funding and getting that project was a real turning point in terms of being able to validate. I mean, I'm in healthcare, so we needed to get some clinical validation in order to then move on to sort of commercial. So it was a real sort of key juncture, and getting funding when you're pre-revenue, you're still small, it's still very early innovation. It really is grants like this one that really make the difference. So you know, I do a lot of shout outs to Innovate UK sort of generally, and that really is kind of that zone of where it's, you know, you definitely should go for something if it's early on, but you've got a great vision, because that's exactly what Innovate UK fund. And I felt absolutely sort of very lucky to have presented something, to have got the award. And then on the personal side, which is also sort of semi-linked to the business, but I think kind of very interesting, is we've talked about the networking and the sort of the sharing and the kind of coming together as a community. But what I found particularly interesting is that we're all so busy, and we're so sort of, well, I am so bogged down in the day-to-day and kind of I need to deliver A, B, and C. And having that kind of structure to say, right, you are now going to this event. I mean, this was pre-COVID or whatever, but sort of almost having that discipline of having it into the diary gave me the space of the networking and the exchanging and benefiting from the event. So it's very easy to say, oh, you know, having a network and the benefits it brings. But sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, and you all are if you're on this call, you know, giving yourself the time and the discipline to make that time is sometimes really difficult. And, you know, there are a number of events that, you know, it was compulsory to go to, and I was like, oh God, it's happened so quickly. And when I accepted it, I thought it was going to be months away. And then I came out of it going, that was just brilliant. And the brilliant things are, you realize you're not alone. You realize all the problems that feel very personal to your company, to your health, you know, to your individual or your sector is actually shared, is far more common across others. So yeah, that would be not a very succinct answer.
Thanks, Lauren. And then Sophie, what was most beneficial for you?
Gosh, yes. Following all of that is hard, and all of that, it has been brilliant. I think just specifically for me, I mean, the cohort in terms of, yes, being part of this incredible, inspiring group of women that are all, you know, in different places, but kind of shared pains and challenges, and, you know, sharing each other's successes, and just feeling like, yeah, that you've got this huge group of people that really kind of get what you're trying to do and want you to succeed is really, you know, it's a really lovely feeling. And I think, you know, being part of it as well, it's like, it really, you see these other women and you think, gosh, I'm part, you know, I'm seen in that same way, and you see them and you think they're so inspiring and so incredible, and then you think, gosh, well, that people might be looking at me and thinking that too. And I think it's incredibly good for your confidence, and you're kind of feeling like a leader and wanting to be a real role model. And I think for me, it's that sort of validation and that credibility that comes with it, and being able to really kind of use it to push the agenda, especially, I mean, I'm in waste and tech, which are both really not super full of women, and so really trying to improve the kind of diversity in both those sectors, it feels like a real platform to do that. And I think that's, again, something that I really appreciate from it. So
Thanks, Sophie. And just for our audience's information, so Sophie's based in the Northwest, which is actually where I'm based. And earlier this year, we have Innovate UK family meetings. So Sophie was able to present at one of our Innovate UK Northwest family meetings and meet a whole bunch of key stakeholders from the Innovate UK family. So, you know, she's getting presented, she's getting showcased, and she's getting highlighted to some key stakeholders because she is one of our Women in Innovation award winners. I'm not sure about the other award winners, but I imagine they'll have been put into very similar situations where they've been in front of key stakeholders for Innovate UK and UKRI in particular as well. I'm going to move on, and we're running out of time, so I'm going to ask you to be very succinct in your answers, and I want to know how your organisation has grown and developed as part of the programme. So 1 or 2 words would be great, and Sophie, I'll come to you first.
Sure. So yeah, so things are going really, really well, and we're in the process of starting to recruit more people to our team. So we're currently 5 full-time staff and 1 part-time, and we're looking to recruit, I think, 3 to 4 new staff in the next sort of 6 months. So yeah, really strength to strength, really good.
Thank you, Sophie. Pei?
Well, the funding allowed me to hire the first person for the company, which is the most crucial one. Once I have the first person going, the rest is just growing like that's easy. And I grow up to 10 people before COVID, coming down a little bit, but I think the business is going back up again.
Thank you, Pei. Lauren, over to you.
For me, it was the clinical, the real sort of key change was getting that clinical evidence, thanks to the award. That allowed us then to get more partners within the healthcare sector and NHS.
Thanks, Lauren. And Christina? Christina, you're on mute, just so you know.
It's because it's still school holidays, so my son was looking for lunch. Myself on mute so you didn't all hear it. Yeah, I suppose on 2 sides, with the kind of the project itself, because we do a lot of new innovation technologies, the first kind of projects that we do are usually proof of concept. So one of the things that we wanted to do with this project was to create a demonstrator that we could show something real. I mean, it's a small part of the project because the main part is about the commercial model, but that's kind of a big step change for us, which is great. And it's offering us the opportunity to speak to that particular sector, which is the wind sector for this particular project. So it's kind of enabled us to kind of get a lot of traction and speaking to customers and not just having the kind of sale conversation. It's more about this is what we're developing, you know, getting some feedback on that. So that's been brilliant. As a business ourselves, I mean, we got at the kind of same time last year, we did get some investment funding. So through the pandemic, which was great, we didn't make anyone furlough, and we actually grew from 21 to 32 people. So it's a massive change for the business. You know, this is a key project for us and a kind of really inspiring thing to kind of push forward and a focus. So yeah, for us that's kind of how it's been. So we're really, really excited what's going to come next.
Thank you so much. So we're going to have to call it a day there on that discussion with our previous awards winners, and we'll move on to our next discussion. Pei, Christina, Lauren, Sophie, thank you so much for all your insights and experience. They will remain with us for a little bit longer yet and have a chance to answer some of your questions later on. So if you do have any specific questions, put them in the chat. I'll go over and look at them now on YouTube as well. But over to Indro for the next session. Indro, you're on mute.
Sorry, my apologies. Thank you, Siobhan. As you can see, Innovate UK is really strongly committed to our Women in Innovation programme. And I really hope that you've been inspired by the presentations that you've heard during the course of this morning. We heard from Rachel and Abby, who gave us a really great inspirational summary of the Women in Innovation programme. Their presentations were passionate, professional and clear, which is very much the ethos of our programme. As Rachel said, we want you to apply to be an award winner. We want your energy, your passion, and we want your success to make a great contribution to the UK. We also want to work within the standards, guidelines, and that's what Abby went through very, very clearly this morning. We've heard some great insights from our panel of award winners who are quite clearly smart innovators, but also great business leaders as well. And the stories of how they applied, the experiences they just shared, and the feeling of go for it and be courageous that was explained by a number of them. We heard about starting with the end in mind, what you want to achieve, what impact you want to make, and make a project plan based on that. They talked about the benefits that they got from the awards, the mentoring, the marketing, the purple plaques even, the inspiration, and a number said that these awards were very good for customers, very good for business. And so please keep that in your mind as you get inspired to inspire for these awards. They talked about overcoming barriers and getting confidence. And I was particularly struck by a couple of comments. One was from Pei, who's talked about how to make a safe space to have the confidence to ask questions so that you can progress. And to do that and overcome your barriers is a very important thing. And Lauren, who spoke about the support that Innovate UK gives at the crucial stage of going from pre-revenue to getting the business off the ground. As I hope that many of you are going through that and we can help you with that. And so please apply for this award and please be part of our Women in Innovation community. And it's been brilliant to see how the award winners have been turning great innovation into real business. And I wish them all the best for the future. You know that earlier in my presentation at the start of the morning, I said that one day we wouldn't need a program like this. But until then, our work is very important. And so we want to see a greater proportion of new businesses led by women. We want to see more role models for women innovators. We want to see more women-led businesses getting backing from venture capitalists and angel funding. And we really are determined to make our program a success. And so I'm really pleased that all of you can join, and I look forward to hearing of the successful applications that have gone through the system, and as you heard from earlier. I'm going to now introduce a couple of excellent and very successful leaders who will join our panel and share a little bit of a discussion between us. These leaders have both made impressive contributions to diversity and inclusion and have also made a great contribution to the UK innovation and engineering. I'd like to introduce first Dr. Hayatan Silan, CEO of the Royal Academy of Engineering. I've known and worked with Hayatan for quite some years, and I respect her work and very much value our friendship. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Alicia Greathead, the CEO of our Knowledge Transfer Network, who's done an excellent job to build a really excellent team right across the UK, supporting the innovation community, running events and helping to make connections. And I think that Rachel and Shiwan are joining early as well, and you met them earlier as well. So one of the things I said in my opening presentation was that one day we perhaps wouldn't need to have a Women in Innovation program. And so I'd like to ask our panelists now, what surprises you about progress? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's not so good? How well do you think the whole Women in Innovation thing is going? And what's your perspective with it? And maybe I can start with Hayatan to address that point from your perspective, please.
Thanks so much, Indra. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this panel on a topic, as you know, I'm really passionate about. So I absolutely share your frustration. I think it's shocking that we are where we are. So in my corner of the world in engineering, we have an engineering workforce in the UK that is still less than 15% women, and at current rates of progress to reach gender parity, even on those starting engineering degrees, it's going to take us till 2085. It's absolutely appalling. And you know, what I can't understand, what I find especially frustrating is that alongside the very compelling moral case, there's such a profoundly compelling business case now, from innovation and creativity to talent attraction, retention, motivation, productivity, health and safety, the list goes on. I don't also know any leaders who don't want to benefit from diverse talent. I mean, what kind of leader doesn't want to be an inclusive leader? Who doesn't want a workplace where every single member of the team feels welcome, valued and able to contribute to the full? So it is immensely frustrating. But Indra, as you know, I am also an inveterate optimist. So alongside that, I would say that I have seen progress. And so, for example, I think our understanding of diversity has matured. So we don't just think in our world about gender in isolation, we think about other protected characteristics, we think about intersectionality, how those different characteristics interact. We don't just count the number of people from different groups, we think more about inclusion. We are more focused on creating those cultures where everyone can contribute to the full. But also now we're moving to thinking about inclusive outcomes. So how does that diverse teams working in inclusive cultures translate into making sure that everybody benefits fully from the products, services and infrastructure and innovations that our community is developing? So I have a sort of mixed perspective, and then specifically on research and innovation, I would also say that it's been a source of great frustration, and I think I've been surprised at how slow we have been to move away from what I would call this really outdated and erroneous view that somehow prioritising diversity and inclusion is going to be at odds with our focus on excellence. It's just absurd, and I'm delighted that we are now moving towards a time and a place where we have many more great leaders who are overturning that dogma. You included, Alicia included, our science minister included, and that's really powerful. And the fact that we now have a new people and culture strategy for R&D, which is, I think, positioning diversity and inclusion as part of how we define excellence, is really important. I'll stop at that point.
Thank you, Hayat, that was brilliant. And you're absolutely right. There's both a human reason and a business reason. Alicia, what's your perspective on that?
Thank you, Indro. And it's always really awful when you're asked to speak after Hayatan, because she's like so eloquent and covers everything basically. So firstly, it's just to say, because we've just followed on from this panel discussion, and I know this wasn't the question, but honestly, hearing those women speak as a woman, and as someone that cares about innovation, it genuinely, it gives me a feeling of joy to hear what these women have been speaking about, because this is the future. This is how we're going to change it, is people like this. So I just add to what Hayatan said and say, and you obviously, Indro, that we definitely do want to get to a place where we do not need a programme like this in the future. I think COVID has just reinforced that point that Hayatan has been saying, that we've actually moved backwards in a lot of senses, and it's absolutely deflating to see that happen, especially at a time when innovation is so critical. We need that diversity to push forward innovation for our society. And I just wanted to give one recent example that's very close to me personally, to give you an example of the surprises around this area. A few weeks ago, very good colleague of all of ours at KTN very sadly had an unexpected heart attack when she was out cycling. And after a week in hospital, the conditions that led to that heart attack were still unclear. And she had the medical staff saying to her, she's on this call actually, saying that her condition affected women more than it affected men, but we know very little about it, as the medics, the researchers are generally male, right? And we know women in Britain are 50% more likely to be misdiagnosed following a heart attack. And that's because the trials are using men. I mean, that is so wrong. It's so wrong for society. It's so wrong as innovators. And that we know there's hundreds of examples like that. So what you're doing, all these people on this call, what you are doing, you're changing this, you're changing the dial, you're making innovations that are going to make society better. It's not just about the economy, as Indro was saying at the beginning. You're going to make a change that is really important for not just the UK, but the globe. And then all those points that Hayatan said, I could not agree more. It's the surprise is it's almost not surprising. We're so used to hearing this. We have this mass of evidence. I've got a briefing notice, pages of all the evidence that tells us that diversity, gender diversity, results in better decision making, better performance, all those things that Hayatan said. And despite that, we know that women are less likely to start companies. We know all those things we've talked about, financial support. We know that women are paid less than men to sit on boards. How is that right when we know all this? But I wanted to finish on a positive, because I have two children, as some of you know, a boy and a girl, and I see all the differences that they face, which some are quite shocking. But I wanted to say the future generation, they're much more aware. They're much more questioning about discrimination. they see people like you on the call, successful, independent female role models, and men, by the way, who are behaving in a much more equal and inclusive way. So despite all those depressing surprises, I really do believe that we have a great future ahead, and we are all part of that. And we have to play a role and take it really seriously.
Thank you, Alicia, and some brilliant points. On the subject of young people, can I ask both Hayatan and Alicia also about role models? So role models are there very important to inspire, particularly the young people, for exactly the reasons you said, Alicia. So do we think there are enough role models? Do we think we could do better in that area? Do you think we should do better in that area? Hayatan, what do you think about that area?
I think it's one of those areas, in fact, actually, along with all of our diversity and inclusion interventions, where however much you do, there is still more to do. And the point about role models is that people want to see a future me. They want to look at somebody and think that could be me. And it might be that the fact that that person is a woman is what's material. It might be something about their background, their style. There are a whole load of reasons why role models resonate or don't resonate. And so the more that we can just keep shining a light on all the outstanding inspirational people that we all know that are on this call, I think the better it is. And one of the slightly sobering things that we found out at the Academy when we did some research on this is that although really, really, really senior people who've made it to the very top of their profession are, of course, inspirational, actually, when you look at what influences young people's career choices and subject choices, they tend to be most influenced by people who are a lot closer to them in age. So we often think about, the people who have reached the pinnacle of their career in their 50s and 60s. But what we also need to do is keep shining a light on the people in their 20s who are doing great things, but relatable things. So I think that no matter how much we've done, we need to keep on doing that. And we need to not just think about who is the individual. You think about how we're telling their story. We need to think about how is that story reaching the audiences that we want to reach. So it's making sure that we're drawing on marketing expertise and things like that, which are often not to the fore in the way that our community thinks about how to tell our story. So at the Academy, we've worked hard on this in our This Is Engineering campaign, but this is just one effort. There is so much more to do.
Exactly. Thank you, Hayatan. I mean, that's exactly right. The mental image that people think about has got to be changed. And so we've got to see this as one of our inspirational ideas. Alicia, what do you think about role models?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Hayatan said. There's not one perfect person. We get different things. We learn from everyone. So learning, I think that feeling and that approach of learning as much as you can from whoever it is around you. But I feel we always think of role models, as Hayatan said, as somebody that's this great ethereal thing, right, that we want to aspire to. I mean, if we all think about our lives, and I know for me, the first woman we have in our life, for me, and for most of us, is our mother, right? My mum had this real genuine interest in people. She really, really listened to people and they opened up to her. And that's something that I've carried with me. So if, we are all having interactions in work and outside work, and that's really important. Then we've got friends, we've got peers. I mean, Hayatan is very important in my life as a group of women are that I would consider people I really, really admire, really respect and aspire to. But it's exactly what that group we're talking about before. It's about having a safe space. It's about having role models where you can really share and be open. Whatever your job is, however high up you are on the ladder, however perfect your life looks from the outside, right? We've all got ups and downs. We all have challenges and amazing things we want to celebrate, hopefully. And it's so empowering being able to share that. And that's why it's been so great to hear about the experiences of this program and how it gives that, because that is, for me, I think that peer level support and role modeling when I see great things is really inspiring. And then the last thing I just wanted to say in terms of that aspirational role modeling, I think we've got a new generation of female world leaders, for example, in Scandinavia. And we've got women who they're really well respected, they're really strong, they're really clear, but they're also empathetic, they're collaborative, they're using different words. They're using words like kind. They're showing a different type of leadership. And I think that is really, really inspiring, and we need to see more of it. But I just wanted to say before we pass back is, you guys, you're all role models. You're role modeling, and I mean that for all of us, whether it's men or women. We're all role models in everything that we do. Every interaction we have is impacting other people. So realize and make the most of that influence you have, because you do have it.
Thanks, Alicia. Can I reflect on the last 4 years? So I talked this morning about this, the fact that this is our 4th year that we are, Innovate UK is running this programme. And I'd like to ask you first, Rachel, what's your feeling about how things have evolved over the last 4 years, and what achievements have we seen through our programme?
Thank you, Indro. Just looking back and thinking of the last 4 years, the Women in Innovation program, I would say, has grown from strength to strength. And just to add to the points that you've made, Hayachin and Alicia has made, I think one big area is around the relatable role model. That has taken it up to a whole new level, because we realize that this is crucial. And this is the uniqueness about the Women in Innovation program, thinking of the next generation. So some of our, at least one, I can think of one of our Women in Innovation award holder, Son, I think, is also a young innovator, current young innovator cohort, which is fantastic. So that shows a real example, a mom and then a son as well as a young innovator. So that's really powerful, the point that Alicia has made. And also we've seen a growth in terms of enabling women-led businesses to connect globally. So we had a mission to Boston, and then we had a mission to Israel. So women on the program are making impacts globally, apart from within the UK. And also the biggest thing about, and the uniqueness about the Women in Innovation program, is that we do listen. We do listen to the women. The program is for the women. So this year in May, I mentioned earlier, we had a consultation event. And this was just about listening both to the award holders and women in the community, how we can support women, how we can shape the program and make it more accessible. So those are some of the examples and the growth we have seen in the last few years. And one thing we've changed, as Abby mentioned, is the application process. So this year we have video. We have a video application because we want women to express themselves. Women are very good at expressing themselves, and we want them to have that safe space and also to just show themselves and show that their business capabilities. So that's just some of the changes we've seen in the last 4 years. It's going from strength to strength, I would say.
Thank you, Rachel. That was brilliant. And Shuan, what are your reflections on how things have gone over the last 4 years?
Yeah, so I'd echo some of what Rachel said. We have really increased the amount of communication that we've done working with our community. So, you know, we've opened that dialogue up between KTN, Innovate UK and our community members in all kinds of things. We've seen that we've developed a greater understanding of what our community needs and acted then accordingly. So we've had webinars and workshops on things like confidence building, because that is what our community wanted, which is a bit out of the ordinary for what we would have usually put on. But then we've also had offers, collaborations with different individuals as part of the program as well. So we partnered with 4 coaches last year and offered out 18 places for 6 months worth of free coaching. That was provided very, you know, we've got tons of case study, which we've highlighted the women that took part in that as well. Our community members, Catherine Baker of Intrinsic Energy and Dr. Hannah Roberts, both gave back some time and led workshops on negotiation and time management earlier this year. We've got a blog post on Mandy Hamela that's actually up now, and you can claim a free copy of Hiring Your First Employee book. We've been open, explored a lot of different opportunities for our community members, and as such over the past year we've increased the amount of community members by over 4,000 new members, and I think that is as a direct result of us really listening and taking on board what is being asked and communicated with us.
Thank you, Shuan. That was brilliant. As we close, I'd like to just go round to everybody and just ask you to give and share one hope for the future. If you can just summarize one hope in a few sentences. Shiwan, let's start with you. What will be your one hope for the future?
My one hope for the future, in particular with the Women in Innovation programme, is for our members to keep communicating with us. The more you share your successes, the ideas for the programme, where you think we could improve and the impact that it's had on you, the more that we can actually change, develop and grow the programme and the activities. So keep talking to us because we are listening.
Thank you. Rachel, what's your one hope for the future?
My one hope for the future with regards to the program is just to encourage every woman on the call today that you're not alone. We have just heard from our panel members, and we just want to encourage you to put that brilliant idea into your application. And we're here to support you to bring that vision to come alive. There's still hope, and that's why we're here today to support you.
Thank you. And Alicia, what's your one hope for the future?
My hope would be that we have a future society that is inclusive and diverse so that we don't need this programme or any programmes like it.
Yep.
It feels quite bad because I love this programme, just to say.
No, I know exactly what you mean. It's my hope too. And Hayatin, what's your one hope for the future?
So I think the past 18 months has proved to us all that when the imperative is strong enough, we can do extraordinary things that we never believed were possible. And it's shown us that we need to be ambitious. So I would love us to raise our ambition level on how fast and how effectively we can diversify our innovation community so that all those societal benefits that we've talked about do indeed flow for us, and the UK becomes really an exemplar of best practice in how to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great, and really fantastic contributions from everybody. Great that we're running this program. I hope that everybody that is watching this is going to be inspired to apply. And I would say that my one hope for the future is that people feel that in order to get to the state that Alicia said just a second ago, and I said earlier this morning, where we don't need to do something like this, please be courageous. Please just go for it. As you heard from the very successful and brilliant innovators this morning, I think it was actually Christina, if I remember correctly, who said it, just go for it and be courageous and see what happens. And I think that we are really willing and able to run the best program we can to stimulate the best innovation for the UK through you. So thank you very much indeed. And I think I'm handing back to Shiwan with a lot of thanks to Hayatin and Alicia for joining, and back to you, Shiwan.
Thank you. So I do have some questions that have come in from our chat for quite a lot of people on the call. Hopefully Hayatin and Alicia are able to stay with us, and I'm going to direct the first question to both of you as well as Indro. So the first question I've got is, how do you recognise and raise awareness of employees within your organisations? So Indro, can you go first?
Employee within our organisations are the first and most important responsibility for every leader. And we raise awareness by trying to celebrate the work that they do, acknowledging the work that they do, and helping them to feel that they can make progress through the work that they can do. So that's our job as leaders, and that's a very important part for our lives and the way we develop our organisations.
Alicia?
Thanks, Shiwan. You know, this is something very close to my heart. So I'll give you an example. In the KTN strategy that we published last year, we purposely put people as the most important, positive change in people as the most important elements of that strategy. So I couldn't agree more that people are what makes any organisation. You can say that though, you have to put your money and your efforts and your time where your mouth is. So I think that's about, in your organisation, is building up teams that actually genuinely support people, building up activities and changing policies. So the proudest moment, one of them that I had in this job, was when we introduced an equal parental leave policy, and that's because we genuinely wanted to support equality in the organisation. And we've got loads more we need to do. I could talk about this for a long time, but I think it's about taking it seriously.
And Hayton?
Thanks. Well, I'd very much endorse what Indra and Liz said. So I'm going to take a slightly more specific interpretation of the question, which is, in the context of diversity, one thing I think is incredibly important is for leaders to try to help people get to leadership roles faster if they have that potential, because we have a demographic challenge, which is that typically if you just let things sort of happen organically, underrepresented groups are going to be going up against more experienced people from majority groups for almost anything they do, jobs, prizes, grants. And so it becomes very, very easy to say that, well, someone didn't get something because it was too early. So if we wait for this to just self-correct, it's going to take generations. So I think it's incredibly important for any of us in leadership roles to look around us, say, who has the potential to be a leader and how can we make them more visible? I think you suffer from this invisibility cloak before you get to that senior level. And so we as leaders can help whip that invisibility cloak away, give them that first bit of visibility, give them that public vote of confidence. I think that is often a prompt for other people to have the courage to think this person might be ready for that next level of responsibility and recognition of whatever it is. So I think in the context of diversity, that's a particularly important aspect of how we recognise our employees.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to bring our award holders into the conversation and ask you what are your messages for potential applicants and final kind of points on how to help them with that application process. So Lauren, can I go to you first?
Yeah, so definitely echo what everyone else said, which is just go for it. You know, you won't lose anything even if you don't get selected or shortlisted. I found that you can recycle a lot of it and it just pushes your thinking. And it can really make a difference to the company. So you should have the confidence to apply.
Thanks, Lauren. Christina? Christina, you're on mute again.
Caught it that time. Yes, one of the things that I wanted to say earlier, but this is a good opportunity to say it, is that, you know, but it's quite easy to just think, right, I'm just going to dive into the application. But actually, the thing that really kind of focused my application was a key vision piece, a little bit like one of the other award winners said, you know, where's the end point? What am I trying to do? What's the situation now? Where am I trying to get to through this innovation? And I just put that on one slide, and actually that did form parts of my presentation and my application, because every time I communicated that, and the other thing I would say is to have you know, I know not everyone's got a team around them, and my team wasn't just the people in the company, but, you know, choose yourself your kind of grant writing team. And that could be, you know, an external person, a mentor who can maybe read through or maybe even just discuss, you know, to explain what your innovation is and what you're trying to do, because even the process of doing that really kind of focuses your mind of how you're then going to translate that into an application. It's the bit that takes the longest, is the first bit of refining what that is. And you want to just jump into the grant writing, but don't do that. Get that piece done first, and then everything really flows around that. And as the previous person said, you know, you can really articulate what the project's about, what you're trying to communicate, what the outputs are. And you can do that a lot easier when you've got that kind of vision piece finished that you can communicate to other people. So I think that would be my tips.
Thank you, Christina. Pei?
Hi, sorry, what's the questions again?
So what kind of advice would you give to potential applicants?
Try to apply. It's your job to apply, and it's their job to judge whether you're worth it or not. Don't think that you're not worth it and like you're not good enough, because you can express everything that you have, and let we be the judge to say whether that's enough for this round or not. Or the worst case scenario, you'll get great feedback anyway on how to improve it, how to make it better. So do not afraid. If you're applying, that at least a slight chance you'll get it. If you don't, then there's zero chance you'll get it.
Thank you, Pei. Sophie, over to you. Advice.
Yeah, so I think specifically for this program, what I would say is really think about the additional support that you can get, and you know, and how that will make a difference to you, and really kind of write that into your application. Like, you know, what beyond, obviously the funding is brilliant, but beyond the funding, you know, what difference will it make to you to have the cohort? What difference will it make to you to get the mentors and the access to the extra support, and really think about that and write that into your application, because I think, you know, they want to see how you're going to make the most of the actual program beyond just, woo, I've got some money. So I think really doing that. And then also the other thing I'd say is that certainly in our one, we didn't have to do the video, but we had to get the recommendations or kind of endorsements from people, and I was sort of encouraged to ask people that I might feel a bit uncomfortable, embarrassed to ask, but who, you know, who I respect and think a lot of, and I did it, and actually no one turned it down, and everyone gave me the most incredible, lovely bits of sort of endorsements and feedback, and it really bolstered my confidence. So I'd say, you know, be brave and ask those people, because I think you'll be surprised how much people want to support you and want you to succeed. So those, I think, are the two bits I'd say.
Thanks, Sophie. Question again for our senior leaders. We've got a question that says, are there any top tips that you have about seeking out a strong female mentor? And I'm going to elaborate that a bit further and just say a strong mentor without feeling like you're cold calling them. So if somebody was to reach out to you, what would kind of put you in a better frame of mind about helping them and supporting them further? Indro, can we go to you first?
Sure. I think I do this quite often, actually, and I'm always both touched and inspired by people's passion. And so when you find somebody who's passionate, who believes in what they do, who wants to make it successful, that's inspiration in itself. I think people should remember that mentors often look for something that they can get out of the relationship for themselves as well. And mentors can learn a lot from mentees. And so please don't underestimate that side of things. I think overcoming some of the preset barriers, I mean, if I had to capture one sort of life lesson for any of you who've ever had to, or I should say any of us who've ever had to overcome any kind of barrier within ourselves, it's to do exactly with what Pei said. And what Pei said, I think if I could package one thing into a bottle and be able to sell it, it'll be that, which is don't anticipate the problem from the other side. Go for it and let the other people worry about the problem, and really go for it. I can't say how powerful that is. And I think mentors also look to try and liberate that with people as well. And I think therefore that kind of relationship will be good. And just the last quick thing is that if you have to persuade someone to be your mentor, then that person is probably not the best mentor to go for. That would be something I would suggest, because I've never found a situation where I've needed to persuade somebody and, you know, almost beg them to be a mentor or to be someone I can go and have a chat with. And I think also the other way around. So I think if you have to persuade too heavily, that's probably not the right person.
Thank you, Indro. Hayatun?
Thank you. Well, I as usual, I completely agree with what Indro's just said. So I guess I'd add to that often you don't need to go and ask someone directly, will you be my mentor? You can just start by dropping them a line, asking, would they be willing just to have an initial chat with you? You just want a bit of advice, or you'd like to have the opportunity to talk some things over, or you'd like to ask them some questions. And that's often a really good way of testing out actually how good is this fit, because it's all very well to look at someone and admire them, but that's not the same as finding that you have a good rapport and that there's enough sort of empathy and connection to make it a true mentoring relationship. So I actually think it's really healthy to have lots of people that you go and talk to. You will learn something from all of them. And as Indro said, they get something from those conversations too. And the other thing I would say is, although I've been very fortunate to benefit from some extremely eminent people's advice, as we were saying earlier, role models and mentors don't need to be people on pedestals. They can be the people sitting next to you. They can be the people that you meet at a conference or an online event. And so probably my most influential mentors have been from my peer group. And so I just think it's good to have like a mosaic of people who you interact with and you get something from, and some of them you might do something quite formal with, you might have a coaching mentoring type relationship, but that network and making use of that and finding places where you can be really honest and seek honest views on what your counterpart is hearing, that's the most valuable part.
And Alicia?
It's very hard to add to that because everything that everyone said is such great advice. Just a couple of points. I think listening to what everybody's been saying throughout this morning, it's been fascinating how many words around confidence and bravery and insecurity are still coming out from women. It would be interesting if we were having this exact same event with a load of men. Would it be the same words? I don't think it would be. So Indro's point, Hayatan, about it doesn't even need bravery. Just be yourself, right? It's really liberating when you get to a stage in your career where you feel you can be really, really authentic, right? I definitely think it's such a compliment when people approach you. Don't be put off as well if people say they don't have time, because I've got a limit on the number of people I mentor, and I think you just don't have time. Also, mentor people yourself. Please don't get mentoring and not mentor other people. You can give people loads of advice yourself. And I definitely think the most important point is to find a mosaic of people, as Hayatan said, but also the right fit, because there's no point in sitting with someone just because they're important. It's not going to teach you anything. It's about finding the right fit with different people that contribute to your life in all different ways.
Thanks, Alicia. And I think Pei wants to chip in on this conversation as well. So Pei?
I have learned one great tips from one of my mentors on how to find a mentor, and it helped me tremendously. So her recommendation is always come up with questions. People just don't want to be asked, if you want to be my mentor, if you have specific questions, specific challenge you're facing, and their answer kind of like fit in with the way you're thinking actually help, that's just a very quick way to test out the relationship, and it worked like that, and it helped me like tremendously. And she was saying, like, if you need to ask someone to be your mentor, that's probably not a great mentor for you, because if it is, you will know before that, and nobody need to put the question up, don't need to ask. So I always like, there's a phase of when I was like asking everyone how to fire my employee. And I end up finding a great mentor who helped me deal with all HR problems. But she's only good at that, not everything else. But when I have other questions and I ask around, people pass their connections on. And I eventually find great mentor of like very big collections of very people, various different fields. So have a questions and don't afraid to ask them, and you'll get a response straight away, whether that's a great fit. That would be something I want to leave behind.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. I don't think we have any more time for any additional questions, but thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights. We're going to quickly wrap up with the last couple of minutes is me just giving you some top tips for your application. So let's go through this very, very briefly, because I don't want to take up too much of your time now. So, you know, I'm from KTN. We've talked about this a fair bit within the webinar. However, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick things. So KTN exists to connect innovators with new partners and new opportunities. We help connect diverse innovators with partners, opportunities, new markets. We work with over 40,000 businesses, funders, investors, and research organizations, and across about 17 different sector areas. We can help you identify your next steps and move forwards, and we can help you put you in touch with the right opportunities for you. So please do reach out if you need any support or help. My top tips for the application now are these. So number one, fit the competition. So Rachel and Abby talked through all the eligibility and the scope of the competition before. Make sure that you're able to commit to the program and that it will provide benefit for you. If you can't align with them three elements, it may not be the right competition for you. There's a lot of other competitions that Innovate UK offer, a lot of different accelerator programs that may be able to support you. Do look for what is suitable and right for you. The application process can take time and effort. If it isn't right for you, or you're not able to utilize the support or commit to the program, then your time and effort may be better spent elsewhere. We want you to read all the instructions carefully. We give you a lot of instructions in the application form and a lot of help and guidance with bullet points. Read everything carefully before you set out. You often find when you were at school, you might have got marked down because you hadn't read the question carefully, or you hadn't answered the question. It can be a similar situation for application forms. And as Abby mentioned before, some questions do have set dates or amounts that you need to enter. Don't be caught out for a mistake or because you haven't taken the time to read things and understand. Make sure you're giving yourself the best chance to succeed. You want to be clear, concise, and realistic within your written application. Make sure that everyone can easily understand your idea. Keep to the points that the question is asking. Try not to use acronyms or technical jargon, and do not always assume that the assessors will be experts at absolutely everything within your field. Make sure you are keeping it simple and easy to read. Or make a realistic plan. So this was mentioned by a couple of our award winners earlier. It's a 12-month project. It's £50,000 grant funding. Plan out what your project will be. Outline it for the 12-month period. Think through the risks. Identify the ways that the award can benefit you, but be realistic within that time scale. By doing the planning stage early, it means it will help you throughout the application process and better enable you to answer them questions. 5, be convincing. We want you to write a proposal that excites and inspires. Make sure that you're sharing your passion with the assessors and giving them a real justification for why your application is worth funding as opposed to everybody else that applies. We want you to be unique. So it is a competition about being a role model and finding them. Showcase your uniqueness through the video stage and through some of the written elements. How will you stand out as a role model? Think about your strengths and your weaknesses. Don't forget that element. Your journey so far and where you want to go in the longer term destination. We need you to provide evidence where possible, so quantify and justify your assertions. If you're going to tell me a statistic, can you tell me where you found that statistic? What is the credible source behind that? Make sure you are using that throughout your application process to really just give credibility to your application. Number 8, check all the deadlines. This is a really crucial one. As I'm sure Abby mentioned before, they get a lot of applications submitted very, very late on, and a couple of people who even missed the deadline dates. So make a note of all of the deadlines, all of the dates that were given, the interview dates, the bootcamp dates. If you are successful, you will need to adhere to all the dates as you go forward. Start planning and writing your application as soon as possible. Don't rush it though. There is absolutely no benefit for you submitting it early other than it being on the system. You don't get marked any earlier. All of the results come out at exactly the same time and they all go through that kind of process together. And then get advice and feedback. KTN are going to put on some application support workshops which will help with the application stage. These will be released within the next week. So please do look out for them on the programme page. If you're not signed up for the Women in Innovation newsletter, sign up for it now because you'll be notified via email. Or if you've registered for the briefing event today, you'll also get an email which tells you when these advice sessions are held. Make use of them as much as possible, but further than that, seek advice and support from previous awards winners, friends, families, colleagues to help your application. And then don't leave it too late to ask questions and submit. As Abby mentioned earlier, there's no flexibility on that deadline. So at 11 AM, the applications do stop. make sure you've submitted before that. But prior to that, make sure you've asked all of the questions that you need to secure the best application that you can, whether that's through Innovate UK's customer service line, whether it's through KTN, whether it's reaching out to some of our previous award winners to just seek clarification on their journeys. Make sure you're utilising the time period and up until the 13th of October to really make sure that your application is as good as it can possibly be. So they're my top tips. There is further support that you can access. So as I mentioned before, Innovate UK's customer support service on any questions on scope and eligibility for the competitions. There's an email address and a phone line to speak to them direct. Innovate UK does offer work regular business hours, so please do make sure that you're adhering to that when you're reaching out to them via phone calls. So Monday to Friday times, and make sure that you marry that up with when you need to ask questions. Innovate UK Edge can provide further support and help you to maximise your project idea. KTN for any specific application support workshops, and we can help out on certain sector specific aspects of it. We have also produced a good application guide. This is for generic Innovate UK competitions, but you for some of the questions, it might be very relevant, and it might be worth utilising that as well. Other than that, that's everything from me. So I'm going to stop sharing slides. I'm going to say a huge thank you to everybody who attended today's briefing event. You heard all of the women in innovation eligibility and application process from Rachel and Abby. Indro joined us to share his thoughts on diversity and inclusion and what Innovate UK are doing around that. We had Alicia and Hayton, who also shared why it's so important for diversity and inclusion within innovation and their thoughts on relatable role models. And we had Pei, Christina, Sophie and Lauren, who joined us from our previous Women in Innovation award holders and these ones to share their insights into the whole process and their thoughts and experiences. So thank you to everybody who's joined us today. Thank you to all of our delegates. We'll be sifting through them questions and adding them to our frequently asked questions guide on our website. And there's also an article from more of our award winners for their advice that's on the Women in Innovation programme page. So please utilise all the support that's available to you, and good luck with your applications. Goodbye, everyone.